Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something absolutely fascinating: the neural architecture behind a universal human experience, first impressions. We're going to look closely at the actual science of why we judge people so quickly, and what is literally happening inside our minds the exact second we lock eyes with a total stranger. Have you ever instantly judged someone? Seriously, think back to a time you met a stranger. Maybe it was just for a split second, right? But instantly you made a split-second decision about whether you liked them or not. You might have thought, oh, they look super trustworthy, or wow, they seem kind of arrogant. Or maybe something simply felt off and you just couldn't put your finger on why. Well, here is the shocking truth about that. Your brain actually decides in under a second. According to neuroscience and psychology, your brain is forming these incredibly powerful, complex judgments before a single word has even been spoken between the two of you. So, the real question is, why? Why on earth does the brain do this? And more importantly, can we actually trust those gut feelings? Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The snap judgment mystery. 2. Inside the brain's survival engine. 3. Mental shortcuts and hidden biases. 4. The social media illusion. And 5. Mastering your first impressions. Starting off with section 1, the snap judgment mystery. Processing information overload. Let's explore exactly why the human brain relies on these incredibly rapid, automatic judgments in the first place. See, your brain processes an unbelievable amount of information every single second. It's constantly taking in facial expressions, analyzing body language, deciphering tone of voice, noticing clothing, tracking eye contact, and monitoring movement literally all at the exact same time. If your brain actually tried to consciously analyze all of this overwhelming visual and auditory data, honestly, even the most basic, simple conversation would just become completely exhausting. Which brings us to section 2, inside the brain's survival engine, tracing the evolutionary roots. So, instead of analyzing every single tiny detail, your brain relies on heuristics. Basically, these are mental shortcuts that allow the brain to make ultra-fast decisions to determine if someone is safe or dangerous. They completely bypass deep analysis to help your brain instantly answer one absolutely crucial survival question: is this person a threat? Think about the ancient wilderness compared to modern society for a second. Thousands of years ago, encountering a stranger in the wild wasn't exactly a polite chat about the weather, right? Quick judgments literally meant life-or-death survival. Today, running into someone at a coffee shop isn't a saber-toothed tiger encounter, yet this somewhat outdated system is still operating. Snap judgments absolutely persist when you're sitting in a high-stakes job interview, sweating through a first date, or just having a casual conversation. Scientists have actually pinpointed the biological culprit behind all this: the amygdala. This is a small area of the brain that's constantly scanning faces for emotional signals and possible threats. Within mere fractions of a second, the amygdala helps generate those instant feelings of trust, fear, caution, or comfort that just wash over you when you meet somebody new. But what's really wild is the race happening inside our minds. Emotion arrives first, and reason follows later. Our emotional reactions drastically outpace our logical analysis. Basically, reason is constantly forced to play catch-up to the feelings the amygdala just threw at us. Let's look at section 3, mental shortcuts and hidden biases, the flaws in the system. Because our brain prioritizes speed, it relies heavily on these psychological accomplices to fill in missing information. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the simple, profound truth that faces don't always reveal personality. We so often judge strangers on facial appearance alone. A friendly smile increases our perception of kindness. Direct eye contact creates an illusion of confidence. But someone might look super confident while actually feeling extremely nervous inside. A tired expression might be mistakenly judged as sadness or even dishonesty. Someone who appears unfriendly might simply just be shy. Yet, your brain confidently fills in the blanks anyway. And it does this through something called the halo effect. This is when noticing one positive characteristic makes us unconsciously assume other positive qualities exist too. For example, research shows that if someone is physically attractive, people will unconsciously assume they must also be intelligent, successful, or trustworthy. And honestly, the exact opposite happens as well. A single negative impression can unfairly tint everything else we think about a person. Our brains just love simple stories, even when reality is way more complicated. Another super powerful shortcut the brain uses is confirmation bias. This is the brain's tendency to search for and filter information to protect its original judgment. See, once your brain forms a first impression, it desperately wants to be right. So it starts actively hunting for evidence that supports that initial gut feeling. This builds into a really tricky cycle. Step 1, initial judgment. Step 2, filtering evidence. And Step 3, solidifying opinion. Imagine you make a snap decision that someone is unfriendly. If they forget to smile just once, your brain filters that evidence and treats it as absolute proof. But if they later act kindly, you might just dismiss it as highly unusual just to solidify your bias. Your brain will literally ignore reality to protect the first impression, which is exactly why first impressions are so incredibly tough to shake. This brings us to Section 4, the social media illusion modern complications. These ancient shortcuts misfire heavily in today's digital landscape. In today's digital age, our brains consistently mistake a tiny snapshot for an entire story. We're forming opinions based on profile pictures, short videos, or just a couple of online posts. Within seconds, we decide if someone is successful, funny, or intelligent. But as we all know, social media usually only shows carefully selected moments, not the complete person. By judging people based on these curated snapshots, we end up strengthening stereotypes and creating massive misunderstandings before a real conversation even gets a chance to begin. And remember, we're not just seeing other people objectively. We view the entire world through our own highly subjective lens. Past betrayals increase caution, positive experiences build trust, and our cultural environments deeply shape our interpretations. Someone raised in one environment might interpret a behavior completely differently than someone else. If you've been betrayed in the past, your brain is going to be way more cautious. If your past is full of positive interactions, you trust easily. You're always seeing people through the lens of your own personal history. So how do we fix this? Let's dive into Section 5, Mastering Your First Impressions, Overriding Autopilot. The problem isn't that our brains make rapid decisions. The problem is assuming those first impressions are always correct. Our initial reactions are just starting points. So let's use a critical thinking framework. Before accepting your first impression as the absolute truth, initiate a psychological pause with this first critical question. Do I actually know this person? This intentional slowdown literally forces your brain's rational system to wake up and step in. Next, present yourself with a second critical question. What evidence supports my judgment? Challenge yourself to stop and look for actual concrete proof beyond just an immediate evolutionary gut feeling. And finally, ask the third question of the triad. Could there be another explanation for their behavior? Like, are they actually arrogant, or are they just socially anxious? Empowering yourself with these 3 questions gives you the tools to activate intentional reasoning rather than just relying on automatic bias. The crucial takeaway is this. Sometimes the greatest mistake isn't making a first impression. It's believing that first impression tells the whole story. Your brain wasn't designed to be perfectly accurate, right? It was designed to be fast, to help humans survive. But in today's world, intentionally slowing down leads to much better decisions, and honestly, maybe even some life-changing relationships. I'd love to know what you think. What fascinating psychology topic would you like us to cover in our next explainer? Let us know, and remember to keep challenging those snap judgments.